Estonia has built a strong foundation of trust by making meaningful investments in a digital society. Meet Kaja Kallas, Prime Minister of Estonia from 2021 to 2024. Recently, she spoke with Sten Tamkivi, a leading Estonian entrepreneur, to discuss the benefits of living in the world's most digitally enabled country.
Madam Prime Minister, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today. And before we jump into more philosophical topics, let's track these sort of big developments in Estonia's history and try to remember where we were when they happened. Like 1996 already, Estonia took all the schools around the country online, and that was called the Tiger Leap. Where were you then?
I was actually already in university, so that didn't affect me that much. But in 2000, when we had the e-identity and all of it already moving to that direction, I remember I was like lawyer, also a trainee in a French law firm, and they were showing me, this is the room where we have the internet, and I was like, okay, I'd rather not mention what we have back home, but yeah, the development was very fast.
And also the 2007 first parliamentary elections on the internet was also before you went into politics.
Yes, I entered politics 2011. But I voted online from the first time. And actually, it is also interesting how we have done it for so many years, and it's so convenient, and gives you so much freedom, because you don't have to be, going to, this one place at this certain day and this day only. So in 2019, when I was already party leader, and then all the cameras wanted to have the pictures of me going to the booth, and I was so stressed, because what if something happens? What if I can't go on this certain day? Because with the elections, you can do it when it's convenient for you, while the regular elections, you have to go where they told you or tell you that you have to go. So it was a lot of stress. So now these elections in 2023, I said that, I'm not going to make the show just for the cameras. I'm doing the elections like I always do. So I take my laptop, I vote online, and then the foreign press was like, is that it? Yeah, that was it.
So that's a perfect example of how do you bring the government closer to people.
Yeah.
And as a technologist, it's sometimes hard for me to admit, but it's not only about the technology. There are other sides of it. There is the legal system, the receptiveness of the general population, the trust for your government. So what are these, or how do you feel we are doing with these pillars in Estonia?
First, I think what is important to understand, and what I say to other government leaders, is that people are living their lives online, and the government has to be where the people are, because otherwise you just alienate from the people, because they can do everything online. The only thing they can't do is run their errands with the government, and so it's like something else in a totally different world. That's why we have to be there. But it's true what you say, that it has to be built on trust, and it also has to be built on mutual benefits. When we started in 2000, people, if we would have asked people, do you want digital identities, they would have gone like, what? Why is that? So we went with the public-private cooperation and partnership, and went for what the people are most interested in, and that is money. So if you filed your taxes online with your digital identity card, then you get your tax funds earlier.
Which is like 24 hours.
Yeah, it was pretty fast. So now we are in a point where 98% of people file taxes online. And I think we are also the only country in the world where actually people compete how fast they did taxes. I think it's right under a minute even.
And they brag about it online to your friends.
Everybody brags about this. It's like, I did the taxes. So, well, yes. That also requires, the other side is, of course, that you have to have a simple tax system. No exemptions, really simple, and because the government has already your data. Every month, the salaries are paid, the taxes are collected, so the government already has that. So we have this once only principle that when you have given some data to the government, you don't have to submit it again. And so that's why it's so easy. You open the declaration and it's already there. It is said that you only understand the value of things when they are taken from you. And when I went to the European Parliament in 2014 and started living in Brussels, and suddenly I got this booklet, like a big booklet, and that was a tax declaration, and a small booklet, how to fulfill this. And I was like, crazy, do people really do that? And you can only file the taxes, from this, 8 o'clock until 1 o'clock, these certain days. It's like, do people really do that? So I started to miss the e-government services that we have here.
One thing with technology is that it doesn't really have morals and ethics. Like, you can put the video on YouTube that teaches people Greek philosophy, and then you can put the video on exactly the same software that actually teaches people how to make biological weapons. So there's like always this question, when we adopt technology to do the good things, how do we actually convey our values? So what's your view of how successful has Estonia been with our values and democracy and freedom being sort of embedded in this system?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's different. I mean, in the physical world, we have the rules and regulations. We have the rule of law that the government actions are based on. And it is the same with technology. Technology is just a tool that we use, but the principles are still the same. So I think we try to make the rules and regulations as simple as possible, that also technology can use those. And just to bring you one example regarding the artificial intelligence, then one of the negative sides of Europe that everybody brings about is the regulations and reporting requirements that companies have. So we figured that if all those regulations would use the same words, then the artificial intelligence will recognize that this is actually the same data that you have already given. And we could reduce the reporting requirements by 25%. This is a lot of work that could be done by technology.
One thing that you mentioned earlier, which I want to dig in a little bit more, is this: if we talk about e-government, this is about public services that the country or the public provides to the citizens. But if we talk about the digital society in broader sense, then that also involves the private sector. So there's the public players and private players, individuals, companies, so forth. If you think back to the 90s, like what did we do to get both of these sides involved, and how has that collaboration evolved to today?
Well, actually, it started with the public and private cooperation, because the banks had their identities, or how they identified the people, the clients. So we made the cooperation regarding the tax declarations together with the banks. So there was a lot of input from the private sector how to do things. I think other thing that we have been quite good at is that private sector has all these ideas, and our public sector has been very receptive to those new ideas. Okay, let's try. Some things work, some things don't, but at least we try and try to move on with these things. So I think there's this element, and it has to be continuous, because also the private sector gives you feedback. I mean, we are making services easier. For example, establishing a company in under 20 minutes. You can do it online very, very fast, and all these services as well. And this has been developed on the basis of feedback also from the private sector. Also, there are user cases. For example, we had the big event of Cleanup Day. It was, I think, 2007 or 2008, where the non-governmental organization actually organized the cleanup of Estonia. Now this movement has grown into World Cleanup Day. So, voluntarily people organize to clean parts of the world now.
One thing I've been watching is also, I think in the 90s and early 2000s, maybe the most exciting jobs in technology were actually to go and build a new tax board or build the ID card or whatnot. And then if you make it easy to found companies, then you get a lot of startups. And then people flock to this sort of private side. Are you worried at all about what is talent building?
This goes hand in hand, and we have a very vibrant startup sector, very vibrant tech sector. I think because there are also possibilities here, but it's also that the government is learning from that startup sector. The startup sector also gives feedback. Oh, we could do this in a better way. Of course, there is the issue of maturing democracy as well. I think 30 years ago, we were a young democracy, very open to all the new ideas. And that was also that the public was very open to new ideas. And also if mistakes were made, they were maybe more easily forgiven because everybody was young in that system. Whereas now we have been moving towards a mature democracy in that sense that also has somewhat limited the risk-taking ability of the governmental sector, because the public and public opinion is not that supportive of all the mistakes that are made. So it is building together with the people, I would say.
So even in a very digital society, people are a little bit afraid of change.
Still, I mean, I always say that, everybody wants change, but if you ask who wants to change, nobody wants to change, really. So this is, I think, the same everywhere. But in a younger democracy, you have more room for experiment. I have the feeling of this. When you are more mature, it's more like, we have done things in this way. But I'm still very optimistic, also looking to the future, that we still have the spirit of trying new things. Because we are a small country. And every person, you have your strengths, but you also have your weaknesses. It's no point dealing with your weaknesses. They will always be your weaknesses, and there will be somebody who is stronger than you in those areas. Whereas there is point in working with your strengths to become number one.
You mentioned a few sort of areas that we've solved with technology in passing. But if you zoom out for a second, and if you had to list what are the 3 or 5 most important building blocks of a digital society?
First, definitely digital identity. I mean, what we can do with this, building trust in society. I mean, not only the governmental services, but also signing documents, very much used in private sector. And, I sign government documents in various places, and I see when
What's the weirdest place?
I think an elevator. Elevator, yes. But I see that, other leaders around the table, we have long meetings, and then, a pile of paper is brought to them, so they start to sign them. We have it much more convenient, so wherever you are, you can still, sign documents. But also in private sector, because what is the biggest problem online is to really figure out whether you are who you say you are. Like the joke is that, the 2 dogs behind the computer is like, I didn't know that you can do these things online. And the other dog says that, well, the power of internet is that nobody knows you're a dog. But we try to solve that we have the digital identities. So there is not, the identity theft or anything, because you can really prove that I am, who I say I am. So I think this is the most important building block. So what everything else is built on. The other big building block is our X-road system, which means that we don't have one big database that everybody is connected to, so it's not a centralized system, but a decentralized system. And when I explain this to other leaders, then I always draw this picture of really small dots all connected to each other. And I ask, which dot would you attack in order for the whole system to collapse? And there is no big dots in that system. So that is the point. If one dot goes out, all the other dots still work because they are all connected, and there is no big database or super database that attackers would be really interested in to get their hands on. So I think this is also very important.
Looking forward, so for the next 10 years for Estonia specifically, like what are the developments, the next things that you get giddy about? Like you probably get briefings about things that are still in planning.
We are working with AI, so trying to use AI in our government services as much as possible. So right now we have over 130 user cases where we already use and experiment with AI. Every time I listen to these discussions regarding AI, then it is very much risk-oriented. And it's true, there are risks, of course. But there are also so many possibilities, and the other possibility now combining with the AI is all the data that we have in health and what we can do regarding this. And when I was talking about this with one other leader of one European country, and he said to me that, oh my God, you're going to the most sensitive data there is, the health data. Well, yes, but it's also the data that helps the people the most. So it depends how you look at it. So I think looking to the future, we can combine this with the genetic data that we have gathered from 1/3 of our people, so that we could really develop solutions that would help people.
And the flip side of that is that because we've taken our citizens online earlier, we've also seen all kinds of cyber risks come up earlier. So what are your main concerns around the risk side?
Well, we are working on that very much, also investing a lot in cybersecurity and the foundations of our e-governance so that they would be resilient enough against the attacks. What we see now every day are bigger cyber attacks than any time in 2007 when we were cyber attacked by Russia. What the people don't know about them is because they don't go through, because we have invested a lot. What I'm worried about is actually the private sector. We are trying to do the audits or offer audits for the private companies, because years ago, hospitals, for example, they had to worry their security risk was some kind of drug addict coming and stealing morphine from their warehouses, but now their security risks is completely different. So if they are cyber attacked, there could be civilian casualties. So we try to help the companies, the private sector, because in the end it all has to function, and then the private sector also has a very important role to play. So for example, our state information agency is making the audits and saying that you have a problem here, patch this.
What has the war in Ukraine taught us to prepare for?
First, investing in cybersecurity, but that we knew before. I mean, the conventional war is going on, but at the same time, we have this shadow war going on against our societies, cyber attacks, information warfare. We see, undermining our own societies. Really, this is what I think we here are more aware of than maybe some more Western European countries, because they are not used to this. But what has it also taught us is that when you have a good e-government structure, you can continue providing government services even if there is a full-scale war going on. And that is what Ukraine is doing, and that we all have something to learn from.
Many years ago, when I had my brief stint of public service advising President Ilvest, and I remember there were occasionally groups of foreign leaders coming to Estonia, and of course everybody wants a simple tax board and online elections and all of that. And then when they get the briefing that actually you need unique identifiers and you have citizens that can see who watched their data, and then you can't bribe a computer, then in some cases the sort of interest cooled a lot. So today, when you talk to your peers, when you talk to the prime ministers and presidents, like, what's your advice to them? Like, how can they have their own e-country?
Well, yes, transparency comes with it. So that also means low corruption. Because, as you say, you can't bribe a computer, and you don't need so many officials as well. There was a meme about artificial intelligence. At first, artificial intelligence can do my job, and then second, oh wait, artificial intelligence can do my job. So this is something I've also noticed, that if you see that side of it. But I still encourage to take this up because, as I said before, when your people are living their lives online, if you're not there, if the government is not providing the services there, then you just alienate from the people, and that is also about the trust of people. What do you do? And
to wrap this up, I also wanted to address the tiny little elephant in the room, and that is the size of Estonia. and us being 250 times smaller than the US, like, do the big countries actually have hope? Or do you have to be small to have this change?
Well, yes, I get that question a lot, and I get that critique a lot, that, it's easy for you to say you're small. It is true that it's easier to turn a small ship than a big one, but it's still possible to turn the big ship as well. And what I've tried to say is that, before going really online with your product, you test it on a smaller scale. So take it as a test. If it has been working on a smaller scale, it will work also on bigger scale. So take Estonia's experience as the beta version before going full scale.
Do you have any examples that you know of? What are the largest implementations that have tried to follow?
India, for example, India's stack has gotten the inspiration from Estonia, and that is not a small country. That is quite
it's the largest democracy.
The largest democracy on the planet. So if to bring examples from big countries, but we have groups from different governments coming here all the time, and just to give you a fun fact, when there was a global climate summit in 2021, I guess, then we had the green room where all the leaders of countries were, and suddenly I had a queue of people who wanted to talk to me from different parts of the world, coming to thank me for the cooperation, the knowledge that we have provided so that they could build their e-governance system. And I didn't know about all those countries that we have helped. So I think smaller, bigger, all sizes, and also from all parts of the world, which shows that this is the place where people are going really, or these are the processes that the governments are taking up.
That is a fantastic example, and I hope that inspires also the people at the conference today to maybe call Estonia when they need. Thank you, Madam Prime Minister.
Thank you. And also the positive side of Estonia is that we are so small that everybody knows everybody. And sometimes, if you have problems, then the first person you call is the Prime Minister. So sometimes hope that there would be some layers between us, but there are none. So that is also a positive side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Learn more about how the United States can build a digital society